Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to this week's Sunday chat. As always, I'll say it's probably not going to be very long, and then it probably will be. You get used to these traditions. Now, this coming week, I've got a fair bit to do in the garden. Apparently the weather's going to break and we might get some more unsettled weather. Although tomorrow's, we had a frost this morning. The bird bath thing was frozen over, white shed roof, and apparently we may well have that again tomorrow with a reasonable day following on. So we've been having that for a few days now. It's been a very cold start, but then it's been sunny most of the day and it's sort of warmed up a bit. There's certainly a bit of life showing in the garden now. But yeah, I've got some sort of things to move out of pots into bigger pots so that they'll grow better this year. Some things that were in flower pots, stood in pots, stood in the ceramic tubs, they can come out of their flower pot and get planted in the tub. So I've got a bit of that type of work to do. I might film some of that. I've got to repot my sarracenias. They've all been outside all winter. There's a lot of dieback on them, perfectly normal. They go dormant effectively. Several schools of thought, but one school of thought from somebody I trust, which is Hampshire Carnivorous Plants, the guy from there, he's got a special room for all his gold medals at Chelsea, and he grows in the UK, and he grows a lot of them in raised peat bogs, effectively, out in the middle of a field. They're totally open and exposed, and they do fine. So yeah, he says that people who cut them down in the autumn because they start going a bit brown and look a bit untidy are depriving them of winter food. So although they might be dormant, they're still using some of that food that's buried in the bottom of the pitchers, so cutting them off at the beginning of the dormancy is not a good idea. Well, I haven't cut any of mine off, but they do need a repot because they're squashed into pots. Now technically I could split quite a lot of them into several plants, but then I've got a lot more plants to look after, and I don't really want a garden full of sarracenias. I could take some into the Orchid Society and just hand them out, or, anybody want any of these? They're pretty easy to look after. You can leave them out all year round in this country. The only thing they don't like is bitter cold winds, because it dries them. It's a drying effect as well as a chill down. So providing they're in a sheltered from the wind type place, mine have been down to -8. And the tray of water that they were in was a solid block. So, and they survived all that. So pretty hardy little things. And I've had some nice flowers on last year as well. But yeah, they need going in. My idea is to put them in, they're in round pots at the moment, stood in a tray. They blow over, the wind blows them over very easy. They're very top heavy. The pots they're in are far too small basically. They've grown, a lot since I got them. So they're going to go in the square pots, the bigger ones. And that means that the square pots stood in one of my trays, my seed trays. 6 square pots fit in there quite tight, and they will hold each other. And I'm going to alter the mix. The traditional mix is Irish moss peat, which I'm not supposed to use anymore, but it's good stuff. And I've got a bale of peat out front in the cardboard. Well, I've got it now. It'd be pointless throwing it away because you're not, okay, you can't buy it anymore, but apart from specialist purposes. Anyway, and it's traditional 50% the moss peat and 50% perlite. Well, I'm going to replace half of the perlite with horticultural grit. The perlite is to keep the peat more open and allow it to drain and allow oxygen to get into the mix. Otherwise peat can compact quite firm. Well, horticultural grit does exactly the same thing, but it does something that peat doesn't do. Makes the pot heavier. so that it doesn't keep blowing over. Peat doesn't weigh much even when it's wet, and perlite weighs nothing. So get some horticultural grit in there. It should give some weight to the pots, and hopefully they'll not blow over so often. They do grow quite tall. So that's a job that's got to be done, that hasn't been done before. We'll get some filming out of that. I've still got some work to do on the bonsai. I haven't got to the conifers yet, but 2 of my conifers I'm getting rid of, hopefully at the next Bonsai Society meeting, which leaves me with 2, which is my Scots pine and my what's endearingly known as my birthday tree, my Japanese white pine. Or the person that gave me the money to buy that for my birthday doesn't seem to be around in the comments section anymore, for whatever reason, I don't know. People can go off YouTube. I mean, it is even possible to move to an area where your internet is so poor that you can't even watch a video any sense, because you haven't got a decent sort of strength internet. But you also got people just do other things, you know, or change, you know, watch other channels. You know, these things happen. So yeah, is that motorbike fired up again? I think he is as bad as Mojo wanting to go out. He waits till I start filming and then thinks, I know, I'll start the motorbike up. And I don't know whether it's something about that engine, but he leaves it running for quite a while before he actually drives it away. So I don't know whether it's the type of engine that has to warm up before you start, you know, booting it. There are engines like that. I think it's something to do with the material the head's made from. Has to warm up or it can warp or something like that. I can remember a car donkeys years ago, a Triumph something or other. Triumph Stag, you can look that up. It's a sporty car from a long time ago, basically. Really old-fashioned car. It was a good car in its day, but that was one, it had an aluminium head. And if you didn't let it warm up and started whizzing up the road, the temperature difference between the block and the head twisted. It made something twist, and then you ended up, you know, messing up your engine. So you had to turn it on and just leave it ticking over for a while to even the temperatures out. It was a long time ago. Basically, I class that as a pretty poor design, rather than a, you know, an enhancement or something, a feature. I just call it poor design. You should be able to get in your car and go, basically. And on that subject, I can get in my car and go, but I got a problem. Now, those of you that may have watched the silly video that I did with me trying to change the headlights, because I had a dip beam or low beam bulb go, which is an offence to drive without your headlamps. So I got the bulbs on eBay. And some people, I did struggle doing the first one because it was the first one. The second one took no time at all because I'd already ironed out all the little niggles doing the first one. So the second one went easy, and it will be easy if I ever do it again, you know. So, and one bulb had gone, the other one hadn't. So the one that was still good, old but good, I put in the packaging and tucked in the dashboard. So if I get a headlamp bulb go now, I have a replacement to tide me over until I can get a nice pair of shiny new ones. So the trouble is with the Volvo, to a degree, you have to class bulbs going as wear and tear, but in a Volvo, as soon as you turn the ignition on, the headlights are on. You can't turn them off. It's the design of the car. It's to do with the country they come from. It's illegal to drive without headlamps on. Doesn't matter whether it's brilliant sunshine, doesn't matter, headlamps on. And of course that's built into the car, so the only way to turn them off is take the bulb out. I know how to do that now. Yeah. But yes, we have another problem with the car now. The turn stalk, some people call it, indicator we call it in this country anyway, your indicators are normally on a toggle. You know, you push it up to go right, you pull it down to go left. Well, mine is okay going right, but you pull it down to go left, it flashes once and stops. There's nothing wrong with the bulbs. Easy way to test that, stick your hazards on and all 4 flash. So there's nothing wrong with the bulbs, yeah? But the stalk has just worn, it's just got loose. So I've got no left turn signal at the moment, which is downright dangerous. Because if you think we drive on the left in this country, it's funny, I always like to say we drive on the right side in this country, on the left, just to confuse people. Same word, right, but 2 different meanings. But yeah, if you think about it, if you're driving along and you want to turn into a minor road or something like that, you've got to slow right down to do it. And the only way the car behind's going to know anything's going on is your brake lights come on. And people can get pretty annoyed when you do that and just don't bother signalling. Well, I can't at the moment, so I don't really want to take the car out. Now, I've ordered a spare part, and I've been warned by the guy who does work on my car now and again and sorts the MOT out that the only problem with Volvos that you need to watch out for is when you get spare parts, especially if you get second-hand ones like I've just done, is make sure it's for the year that your car is, because they change designs quite frequently and sometimes just a year later and it won't fit properly. So basically I needed, a turn unit for that particular model for that particular year. And there were quite a few on eBay. Strangely enough, they were nearly all in Lithuania. Is that where all the stolen cars end up? It just seemed odd. It's a European country, yes, but why just that one? I mean, do they specialise in breaking cars for parts or something? I don't know. Anyway, there is a problem with that. We, in the UK, are no longer part of the EU. Technically, if you post things from the EU to the UK, you are possibly liable for customs duties and things. And I don't want to get involved in that. So eventually I found an English one, in an English breakers. The trouble is, it was the whole unit. So it was the indicators, which also does the dipped headlight, and the wipers on the other side and washers. So it was for the complete thing. So I've had to get the complete thing, even though I only want half of it. That should arrive early this coming week, and then it's something I can even do in the rain, because at least it's inside of the car and it's in comfort. I watched a video on a how-to sort of thing like that. So the first thing you need to do is push the car seat back as far as it'll go and pull the steering wheel out as far as it'll go. So I'm now sat in a nice comfy chair working on something that's just in front of me, hopefully. The only thing that looks flipping awkward is getting the covers off. You know, your steering column, the thing behind the steering wheel that disappears into the dashboard, is nice and smooth. Well, it's got covers on it to cover up all the wires and mechanisms that are inside, and that's got to come off to get this unit out. However, once the covers are off, the unit is held in by a couple of screws and just pulls out. It's a sort of plug and fit thing. That's what it looks like. The light bulb looked like that as well before we started. Anyway, so I don't feel very good going out in the car without a left turn, without a left indicator, because I don't want to be one of those who's so lazy that they can't be bothered to let people know what they're doing in advance. I get cross with people like that. I don't want somebody behind me thinking that of me. So I don't need to go out at the moment. I've been out and got me eggs and some more tablets that were due. So I haven't got to go out for anything. So I will wait till I've fitted that part. Yeah, the covers are a bit awkward because they've got those very strange screws that are like a star shape. You have to have a special type of well, it's not really a screwdriver. Well, I suppose it's a screwdriver, but it's a special tool to actually undo them. I've got a set of those in the man drawer. This is when you move house, you know, as a couple, I mean, or as a family, you move house. The man says, I don't mind what goes in all, this is in the kitchen of course, I don't mind what goes in all these cupboards and all this down here and all your pots and pans, this, that and the other. I just need one drawer for my bits and pieces, known as the man drawer. It will have screwdrivers, duct tape, super glue, nuts and bolts, odd screws from things, leftover bits from putting wardrobes together. You always get a bit left over, don't you? It'll have all those silly things. It'll have keys for previous houses that are useless, you know. It'll have a padlock with no key, you know. It has all these things. It's the man drawer. Well, I've got one of those in my man drawer in the kitchen. Although in my kitchen they're all mine, all my drawers. So hopefully I've got one that fits. If I haven't, I will have to go out and get one, because you can't get the covers off without that tool. You can't use an ordinary screwdriver, it doesn't work. So yeah, hopefully the covers will come off, and then looking at the video, the unit has just got a couple of little Phillips crosshead screws. You undo that and it just pulls out, a new one. Or replacement goes in, it's not new. The new this unit costs 50 quid. I could have got one for 22, 23 from Lithuania, but then the postage was 15 quid and I was worried about customs. So I've paid 50 for the complete unit, so if ever something goes wrong with the wipers, I've got one sat in the cupboard or in the man drawer. Anyway, so it was a relatively expensive part. The new part, a replacement new part, was £120 just for the indicator bit. I don't know how you can justify that amount of money. Especially as it was probably made by a machine, like a robot type machine, you know. Mind you, I suppose somebody had to program that. Spotty kid. Yes, so yeah, a few little car things to do. Could also do with a flipping good clean. We've had a lot of bad weather, you know. Okay, we've had some reasonable weather recently, sort of thing, but because of the type of roads that I need to drive on to pick Hannah up and stuff like that, if the weather's bad, the car gets filthy. You know, it's not a lot of point in cleaning it when it's just going to get filthy again. So I wait until, like now, when we've had some reasonable weather. I washed it not that long ago. It got filthy going to Hannah's again. But it could do with a good clean. But then I've got a load of bagged up green stuff and everything from the garden in the carport that needs to go round the recycling centre, sort of thing. But again, I can't do that without my left indicator working. Yes, because it's nearly all left turns. You know, to get from here to the recycling centre, I've got to turn left out of my road. Yeah, I've then got to turn left into another road. Then I actually turn right. Down to the end, I've got to turn left onto the dual carriageway. Now, that turning I don't need to signal for, because everybody knows it's left only. You're on the dual carriageway. So first of all, you know, there'd be no point in signalling left. If there is anybody behind me, they know everybody's got to turn left here, and they also know I've got to stop to find a gap in the traffic. That's a 70-mile-an-hour road. You don't just pull out blindly, you know. So yeah, so I'd get away with that one. But then you get to the big roundabout at the end, and I'm turning right, but I've got to turn left off. You need to tell people when you leave a roundabout. Then I've got to turn left into the road where the tip is. So yeah, so no. So wait till I've fixed it. Hopefully it's shouldn't take too long once the part arrives. It's in the hands of the courier. so it shouldn't be long before I get it. Basically, it's in their main depot, so it shouldn't take long before it sort of wends its way down south to where I am. So that's that. Out here, I watered everything except the cymbidiums yesterday. Out here, the Phalaenopsis, I only did a day or two ago, so they didn't need doing. Lost another one, just stem rotted, you know. There's another one gone, one less to water. Quite honestly, I don't worry too much about the Phalaenopsis. Not my favourite plant. And I went a bit mad with some cheap mini ones a while back. And on reflection, it was a bit silly getting all those really, especially as they can stay out here in the growing season, probably appreciate it, but I'd have to have space for them, you know. And they're okay on the kitchen windowsill. It faces north, they don't get any sun, they got good light. The only problem with them in the kitchen is the temperature variations that you get, you know, like you know, the heating coming on first thing in the morning before it's, you know, in the winter it's not even daylight yet and suddenly it's getting warm, you know. And then later in the day when it's all nice bright light, it starts getting cooler again because I turn the heating off. And then I go out there and do some cooking and it gets really hot again. So I'm sure that doesn't do them much good, but that's where they live, tough. Either make it or they don't. Yes, so I still haven't rearranged this room. It's still got to be done. Those of you who saw the video, I've started setting up the humidity trays, and I did a little non-scientific test to see how much difference it makes. It does raise the humidity in the immediate vicinity a bit, not a lot, a bit. Well, that's good enough. But what I have done now, as the changeover, we go from what I call winter into the growing season, I've turned the dehumidifier off. With the low temperatures night and day, I don't want it humid in here in the winter. It starts causing mould and rot, yeah, because I don't have big fans or anything going here. But once we get to the naturally warmer daytime temperatures, eventually I'll get the humidifier out and I'll actually be adding humidity during the day. But not yet, it's not time yet. But yeah, once the sun starts coming onto that roof, the daytime temperature will climb that bit more. And that's when the extra humidity will be useful. So I've just got a Hurricane Hector doesn't get used anymore, those of you who remember that thing. I've just got a little home unit that connects up to the humidistat so that it does it automatically. But I'm here most of the time, so I could do it manually if I wanted. We shall see. The trouble is with turning it on manually is remembering to turn it off, you know, when you fall asleep in your comfy chair. On that subject, we've been doing a bit of that for the last couple of nights because basically Mojo can't get up the stairs anymore. He's getting very frail. Very frail. He's starting to waver when he walks. He can still just about jump up onto his blanket, but I've been staying down here with him because I think we may be on his last few days, which is sad. That's my phone. I'll be back. Right, another one of those stupid phone calls where you can hear a hubbub in the background of voices and stuff. It's obviously some sort of call centre, and you've picked up your phone and you've answered it, and they can't even be bothered to talk to you, so I just hung up. They are a nuisance. But yes, the time has come, I think, soon. What else? Yeah, so my watering now becomes more frequent out here, and that's not due to extra daytime temperature, it's due to extra daylight hours, which are noticeable now. We've just gone past the, what's it called? It's not equinox, it's equilux or something, some strange word. I don't think I'd even heard of it before, but it's basically when the hours of daylight and the hours of nighttime are the same, yeah? So 12 hours each basically. It's not an exact thing because it's usually like a minute or two either side of the 12-hour mark sort of thing, but that's happened now, so the amount of daylight hours will now get longer and longer at a reasonable rate for a while. So unfortunately, although we've now got 12 hours plus of daylight hours, it's not good enough daylight for growing orchids in for the whole 12 hours because it's measured from sunrise to sunset. Well, as you know, at sunrise you haven't got your full light. The sun's got to get up, it's got to get going, so there's half an hour really at either end that is not useful growing light. So, but at least we're up above 11 hours now, so getting there, you know, and plants are beginning to respond. Yeah, so my peonies are looking good. Many people have said, you know, they're looking good. And one thing I said, which is technically not right, was my lovely yellow one over here. I got 2 bulbs. I only got 2 because they were a bit expensive. And they've both grown 1 new shoot. So next year I will only have 2 bulbs because obviously, you know, this bulb that the shoots come out of will shrivel and die. Will die and shrivel. But somebody did remind me that they do produce bulbils as well. Now, although they might take a couple of years to get to flowering size, you're not stuck with the only bulb from the shoot. So they will slowly but surely increase in numbers. You know, as opposed to something like the Tongariro, which that's just going mad. There's bulbs in there that have produced 2 shoots, both with flowers, and a blind shoot as well. So 1 bulb has produced 3 shoots. That's 3 bulbs for next year, all of which that should be flowering size. So that's going to bulk up pretty quick. Somebody asked why that one's in a clay pot. It's the only pot I had that was wide enough to take that number of bulbs that was still shallow. Because that's the problem with normal flower pots. The bigger the top, the deeper they are. These don't need a deep root run. They quite like being in the pan type shaped pot. So that's why they're in a clay pot. But it's good to have it in a clay pot anyway, because the clay pot will have evaporation going on, which keeps the roots a bit cooler. So, but it does mean you have to water more often because obviously you've got more evaporation going on. So but that's why that one went in the clay pot. And another surprise, the Formosana, the species that I bought from Burnham's at the same time as I bought the couple of Tongariros in flower at Wisley last year. That's only produced shoots this year. The 2 bulbs that were in that pot have produced 3 shoots. One's got 2, one's got 1, no flowers. So that's going to be blind this year. So the only thing I can think of is that they didn't get fed enough. They didn't, you know, they didn't plump up enough to have enough oomph to be able to flower. So they're just producing new shoots. So it obviously is important to feed them well. You know, to actually plump those bulbs up as big as possible, get as much strength and energy into them, ready to produce the shoots in mid to late winter, which is when they come out. So that's that. But as a new genus, I am pleased with the peonies. They're going to be an easy genus to look after. They're not a big deal. In the main, providing they don't squash up against the sides of the pots, they can stay in their pots for a couple of years. Yeah, they're going to be pretty easy. Their downside is the blooms don't last that long compared with some other orchids. I mean, like that Cymbidium up there, those blooms started to open in November last year. It's, you know, it's well into March now. It's still there. Still hasn't dropped. Right, so maintenance out here is starting to become a little bit more. You know, we are now needing to water more frequently. We've got some of the mounts, most of the mounts are doing nothing. That's the easy way to sum up how are your mounts progressing. Most are doing nothing. The majority are dendrobiums, and they are deciduous by nature. Under normal circumstances, deciduous dendrobiums do keep some leaves through a second season, but some don't. They grow new canes, they grow up to full size, they drop their leaves through the dormancy period, and then they bloom, and then they start new growth. So they do have a proper annual deciduous cycle, and some don't. But let's just go over. They're all accessible, so I can get at them. On this rack, there is 2 Miltonias, neither of which are doing well. There's a Twinkle that's also not doing well. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 dendrobiums, and only one is doing okay. And that was a Kiki from Lynn. So we had a Kiki with a new growth. The new growth has matured quite nicely, and I now have a nice new growth pushing on. And we have got roots, not necessarily active, but we should be getting some new roots from the new canes soon. That is actually Dendrobium nobile variety Cooksonianum. So it's actually the species, the nobile species, but it's a named variety. And that's the only one over here that's actually growing something. This one has still got some greenery on it, but the cane's finished growing, and there's no sign of life at the base yet. It's no sign of a new cane yet, so that's effectively still dormant. I know you could say, well, it can't be dormant because it's got leaves on. It is. It's not. This cane's finished growing, yeah. And the others are not worth looking at the moment. So that's that. But over here we've got this one. Let's see now. This one still has to be watered frequently, and we're now getting to the point where it needs watering every day because it's got no base. It's just basically bare roots. So that needs some moisture every day. My humidity is not high enough to ignore that. We've got a cane down here that's still growing, a nice big one here that's still growing, and another one here that's still growing. So there's three actively growing canes, but down in there's a new shoot, and over this side of the plant there's a new root. So this is coming back into growth. Even though it hasn't stopped growing, that's not the same as coming back into new growth. This is just continuation of existing growth. These canes were probably new either at the start of last year or possibly even the year before. I don't know. I haven't had this one long enough to see if the canes extend over a 2-year period. Some do. And then another good bit of news. See, I've got one over here. I've forgotten what it is. It's got no tag on it. I'll have to backtrack, because in my notes I will have when I acquired it, and obviously when I get new orchids I do tend to film them, so I can go back in my videos and look for one around that time where I was doing a mount, and I'll probably mention what it is. But it has got a nice new growth coming. And this cane down here has been nibbled by something. It's lost its top growth. We're going to have to find that. It could be anywhere. On a mount they can get into tiny little crevices under the moss. and stay there for a long time. But yeah, this top has gone. You can see, eaten through, and it's taken the new leaf out as well. They come in on new plants, that's the problem. They're not my slugs or snails, they're somebody else's who didn't do the job properly. But anyway, that one's got a nice new cane coming on it. And then this one, this is my third go at growing this. These are not easy. They are known to be not easy. And this is Dendrobium trigonopus. They are a small plant, they're not a large plant. But I assume that's going to turn into buds, but it could be a kiki. Yeah, but something's growing. But they are very prone to rotting at the base if you keep them wet when they're dormant. And this effectively is a dormant plant. The canes that have got leaves on are not growing. There's no sign of life on here apart from that shoot there. So you could say it's coming back into growth, and as such I'm starting to let a bit more water get into that moss. We've got some bare roots on the back that I water frequently, although these don't look very active. Not a very good root system yet. Now this needs to grow some roots and a new cane, and then I'll be happy. But we've got a sign of life. That's pretty good. Now my where are we? Can I get at it without knocking stuff down? Just about. This is my Jenkins CI. It's not my original, this is a replacement that Lynn gave me. And it's on a tiny little piece of wood that's been strapped onto a bigger piece of cork bark. So that was done by Lynn. This has started to grow roots. And there's some more down in there. I don't see any signs of new canes yet, but it's starting to do something. I don't think this is big enough to bloom. It's still quite a small division. And I think it's come on from an original seedling. If you look at the size of these pseudobulbs down here, canes, they're absolutely minute. So this is growing on from a seedling. So I would think that it's not reached blooming size yet. It may need another year or possibly even 2. But we do have a little bit of activity on it. So something is happening, but not much. That's a stretch getting over there. And as I said, I'm chucking my Deces. They're going. I'm going to just put that down as a failed project. I tried. And I worked hard at those. I tried all sorts of things. I even got a flipping air blower with air stones to oxygenate the water. I went to a lot of trouble trying to get them happy, and it never worked, basically. I think the only time they were relatively happy was when they were outside after the drought had finished and we started getting regular rain. They seemed to be okay then. So they were outside, fresh air and rainwater. So, but then, couldn't leave them out in the winter. That's too cold. They are cool growers, but I don't think they'd appreciate being frozen solid. So they had to come back in here. So, and I think that'll be the only downside of the Pleonies is that it's going to be too warm in here for their dormant period. They need to get down somewhere between 5 and 8 degrees would be perfect for their dormancy period. I can't do that in here. We may have to do the fridge treatment, but I think my fridge is quite a bit colder than that. My fridge is sort of 3 degrees, something like that. I can stick a thermometer in there and find out. But the other thing is to sort of dry them off and everything and clean them up, put them in paper bags with labels and put them in the shed. Yeah, I mean at least that's outside and sheltered. They won't get wet and, you know, mouldy and rot and all that sort of stuff. So that's a thought as well. But yeah, outside would probably be the best place for them. We shall see. But then, you know, if we get a period where we get this really, really low temperatures day and night, then it's too cold in the shed. You know, don't want them frozen solid as an organic thing. I don't want them frozen solid. So, but we'll work on that. We haven't got there yet. We've got to get through the growing season first. So. Right, so that's that. That's what's going on. As far as world affairs are concerned, I can't be bothered. This video is now restarting because I've had a section that I've had to take out, which is unusual, because what started off as not talking about something ended up getting deep and meaningful. So I've edited the section out, so there'll be a, you know, a bit of an abrupt change, shall we say. Right, so we've had a look at a few orchids. We had a chat about some stuff that's going to be going on in the garden. We've still got the continuing decking saga, but again that involves using my car, which at the moment that sort of, I could use the car, but I don't want to use it in the state it's in. It's probably an offence not to have working indicators as well. It's definitely an offence to not have working headlamps, that I do know, but not to have indicators that work. Probably it would be an MOT failure, so I'll wait until the part arrives, get it fixed, and then we're all back up and running again, and then we can go and get the timber for the decking, the metal spike things that I need to do the posts and everything. They're in my basket on Amazon ready to go, and they don't take long to deliver, and believe it or not, I'm not in a hurry to do the decking. For various reasons. So, yeah. Nice to chat to you all. And not on this video, because the style of the Sunday chat, when I changed the style of the channel, I decided that the Sunday chat stays the same. So it uses that same sort of orange and black fiery thing at the beginning, you know, and it's got the same sort of style of introduction and everything, and I said that I was going to keep it, which I am, but all the other videos on this channel, they've got a new ending, and that ending is there for a reason. The last video had it, that was its first use, and effectively after saying, you know, thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, those words that come up at the end which you're used to seeing, there's now another bit after that which has got a little bit of music, and it basically allows me to put some end screens on, which if somebody's just found the channel and they've just watched perhaps the first video, they've now got a choice to carry on and watch another one without having to go and search. So that's what that ending's there for. It's also got the subscribe button on it. So having watched the video, if somebody fancies, you know, the words come up, like subscribe, there's the button, no excuse. So I've added a little ending on, and I'm thinking about putting a little introduction back on the beginning. I haven't done it yet, but there always used to be an introduction. It used to be quite long, and that was deemed a little inappropriate in today's YouTube world. You know, where a lot of people watching YouTube have got a concentration span of a goldfish, quite honestly. So everything has to be short and, you know, to the point, otherwise they're off somewhere else. But I might re-add a little introduction on the front. Be nice to have a bit of consistency so that each video has a common start. Only short, you know, just something like, you know, a small bit of music with a welcome to my channel or something like that. Just something short but consistent, apart from this one, the Sunday chat, which stays as it is. So anyway, thank yous and everything. Last time when I did the Sunday chat, it was a quick one, and I had somebody who'd rejoined, because you know at the end of this one I do the roll call for all my memberships, and I changed it and put it on there, but I didn't do the shout out, and I'm going to be guilty again today. I've got a new member on YouTube. Now I've adjusted the roll call, so as you watch the YouTube memberships go up, the last one is the new one. It's got big bright green new next to it. So thanks for becoming a member, that's useful. And somebody else rejoined, I believe. So there's been a bit of movement on the memberships on YouTube. No change on the Patreon site. So thanks for the people who are members on either of those. Thanks for supporting the channel in other ways, like watching the videos, doing the thumbs up. Don't forget the hypes, and subscribing if you're not already subscribed, and staying subscribed if you are. All those things help. And don't forget, watching the ads is important. Those big long things, I don't expect anybody to hang in there with those. Unless you're watering your orchids and it's just playing in the background and you can't be bothered to go and skip or whatever. But yeah, watching the short ads or a short amount of the skippable ones is useful. So apart from that, I will see you in the next one. No orchid video tomorrow. There might be something to do with the garden going on tomorrow. We shall see. That'll be on the other channel, obviously. And the link to the other channel is in the description, along with the links to the memberships and the Facebook group that I set up as well. All those links are in the description, so they're there if you want them. And apart from that, thanks for dropping by. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.